Let's get it! 580 Sports Talk, live and direct on a Wednesday. Happy hump day to one and all. Thanks so much for being with us. We're hanging out for the next 3 hours here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our video stream. Check us out on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, or on Facebook at WIBW News. However, wherever, whenever you are tuning into the program today, thanks so much for being a part of the audience here for 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. Delighted to be with you on this hump day. Spencer Dupuis will be along in a bit. Brendan Dworzinski is off today. We got a big show for you today. Lots to talk about. Unfortunately, maybe you don't come to bury Caesar, or you come to bury Caesar and not to praise him. Today, we come to bury the Royals, but to praise them maybe a little bit. I totally botched that. Holy cow. I should have written that out. I thought I had a very literary, Shakespearean way to lead the broadcast today. Holy Moses, did I screw it up. Wowzers. Anyway, love a mulligan on that one. It's live radio. What are you going to do? The Royals, before they took the field last night, were indeed officially eliminated from playoff contention, meaning the final 5 games of this regular season have been rendered meaningless. Although, really, when you think about it, life is pretty meaningless. Life only means something if we make it mean something. And that goes for every little part of life, including, yes, baseball games. That's the existential, right? I'm in quite a mood. I'm sugared up on this Wednesday. I've been eating some Nerds gummy clusters. I got a lot of energy. We're going to talk about some Royals baseball on the program today, because what you saw last night was a tantalizing glimpse of what could have been for this team, particularly in regards to their star left-hander Cole Ragans. But it is also evident, and if you followed the team throughout the year for 157 games, you know exactly why the Royals are no longer in playoff consideration. And frankly, it's a deserved outcome. They haven't been good enough. That being said, it's got to make you a little upset. A little upset. What's going on in the American League Central right now? Because the Detroit Tigers are all set to cataclysmically choke away the Central Division to the Cleveland Guardians, who were not buyers or sellers at the trade deadline, whose star all-world closer is under investigation by the league for gambling, who have like 2 good hitters on the entire roster. I mean, you got to look at this as a Royals fan and think, how is this not us? How is what they are doing not what we are doing? So I imagine it is so frustrating. It's frustrating for me, frankly, in that regard to watch. But that has been going on as maybe you've tuned out of baseball and you've tuned into football and you're thinking, oh, yeah, I know who's going to make the playoffs. Yeah, it'd be maybe that last wild card spot's up for grabs. But, yeah, Detroit in the Central. And the hell do you mean they're about to blow a 9.5 game lead with a month to go? Going to blow, have blown. That division is tied, and Cleveland has the tiebreaker, regardless of what happens the next 2 nights in Cleveland. It's insane. Anyway, we will do a little baseball talk on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. Lots of football today, too. We're going to hear from Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. They both took to the podium today out at One Arrowhead Drive, and want to hear from both the head coach and QB1 as the Baltimore Ravens come to town this coming Sunday afternoon. Get some good perspective from both Big Red and Patrick Mahomes. We'll hear from Mahomes later this hour. We'll hear from Reid in the 5 o'clock hour. One thing has stood out about this Royals start. Royals, still got baseball in the brain. Late September with an eliminated baseball team. Still on my brain always. One thing has stood out to me about this Chiefs season so far. I'm doing a lot of internal monologuing out loud right now. It's probably super annoying to some of you. I'll stop, I promise. The Chiefs so far this year have not gotten what they are paying for from their most expensive players. Not all of their most expensive players. I don't have a lot to complain about with regards to the performance of the Chiefs' highest paid player, or at the very least, the player with the highest salary cap hit. So the player who occupies the most of the salary cap, that's Patrick Mahomes. I don't have any complaints about Patrick Mahomes. Any complaining I could do about Mahomes through 3 games would be nitpicking. But some of the other guys who are on big contracts and big cap hits for 2025 haven't been real good. And we'll talk about why that's such a problem. Also, one guy who doesn't have a big cap hit this year, but will down the line, signed a contract extension this offseason, is Nick Bolton. And I don't want you to spoil this for yourself, but there are 123 linebackers that have a Pro Football Focus grade so far this season that have played enough snaps to qualify for a season-long grade. And I want you to think about where Nick Bolton might rank among those 123 linebackers. Don't Google it. We're going to talk about it later. I want you to be surprised. Or maybe not surprised. Maybe you think you've got Nick Bolton pegged and you actually do. But he is, as we described him during our Chiefs countdown to kickoff, he is this team's Rorschach test. And he remains as such through 3 games this season, is what I will tell you. And we'll get into that later in the show as well. Also going to talk some K-State today with the great Tim Fitzgerald to GoPowerCat.com. Our buddy Fitz joins us at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour for the Wildcat Wrap-Up. He will be our guest today on the show, joining us to preview Kansas State's home Big 12 opener against UCF. We'll get his thoughts on the Big 12 men's basketball schedule as well. That's all coming up on the show today, plus our typical Wednesday shenanigans. We'll do a little One Gotta Go. We got What Is Wrong With You, of course, 580 Sports Talk headlines. And your interaction with the program today. We want to hear from you. Text line is open, 785-272-9429. That's the number, 785-272-9429. You can also interact with us in the live chat on our YouTube stream. If you're watching us on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, there is a live chat that you can access on the app or in the web browser. If you are signed in to YouTube, make yourself known. Say hello. Interact with your fellow listeners. It's a fun way to grow the community, and it's a fun way, I think our listeners and our frequent commenters will tell you, it's a pretty fun way to kill 3 hours, especially if it's late afternoon and you've done the bulk of your work for the day. So we appreciate those of you who are our regular commenters and our irregular commenters. We appreciate you as well. But a good afternoon to everybody already in. Christopher, Mark H., and Vance. Paul is in as well, and JB just popping in. Good to see all of you. Look forward to hearing from you and more throughout the day in our live chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. But we are going to begin with baseball because the meaningful portion of the Royals season concluded last night before a pitch was thrown at Angel Stadium last night, with the Guardians beating the Tigers. And I'm sorry, I'll just do this now. I promise I'm going to get to the Royals. Did y'all see how the Tigers lost that game? They were up 2-0 in the 6th inning with Tarek Skubal on the mound, who's going to win the Cy Young. They were cruising. And then in the 6th inning, the Guardians didn't hit a ball out of the infield, and they finished the inning with a 3-2 lead. Sometimes the baseball gods just choose to reach out and touch you. That's the only thing that I can figure. And you know what? Last year it was the Tigers. Last year it was a Tigers team that you looked at and said, how in the world are they making this work? They got a 2.5-man rotation and 2 good hitters. How is this happening? And it happened. And it very nearly took them all the way to the championship series. This year, apparently, it's the Guardians' turn. Which, again, I have to reiterate, it is so frustrating because if you take the Cleveland 26-man roster and the Royals 26-man roster, I'm telling it to you straight, I would take the Royals group. I would take the Royals 26 over the Guardians 26 every day of the week without hesitating. I would take the Royals guys over the Guardians guys. And that's not to say that the Royals aren't flawed. Obviously, they're one game over 500 for the season and eliminated from the playoffs, while the Guardians might win the damn Central. But I like the Royals roster better. I can't explain what's happening with the Guardians. They got Jose Ramirez, future Hall of Famer. They got Stephen Kwan, capital B ball player. They got Cade Smith out of the bullpen. I guess Gavin Williams is good now. And then they got like 22 plumbers, gym teachers. And they're going to win the Central, maybe. They were down 15 and a half games. Don't you watch that as a Royals fan and think, what the hell, man? We're better than those guys. I guarantee you they're thinking that in the Royals clubhouse. Even if the results didn't match that, look, they dropped 3 of 4 in Cleveland 2 weeks ago. CJ Kafis hit that home run off of John Schreiber. That was the final nail in the coffin. Everything after that was a formality. But who the hell is CJ Kafis, right? Like, who are these guys? And sometimes it just starts rolling downhill. And again, with the expanded playoff, there's more opportunity for stuff like that to happen. And now it's happening. And it appears to be happening against the Tigers this year, just as it was them doing all of this magical, all of a sudden they can't lose, and it's like it's something out of a movie montage. That's what's happening with the Guardians. I like the Royals roster. Better. Honest to God, I do. But they're out, and the Guardians might get in. If you bothered to check it out last night, and I did. I watched them. This is the time of year. I think I've expressed this. This is the time of year I always feel like, man, baseball's getting away from me. I mean, summer's getting away from me. I got to savor it while I still can. Savor the mundanity. Is that a word? The mundane nature of regular season baseball. I love it so much. And I get to the end of September and it's like, man, I've kind of checked out on this sport for a month because you get so wrapped up in football, just on a professional level. And I'm going to miss baseball. I'm going to miss just like having a game on. And the stakes are whatever. Like, would I prefer the Royals be playing high stakes baseball now and into October? Absolutely. But sometimes I love just turning on a June game or a July game. And it doesn't really matter. It's just 9 innings of baseball on in the background. Announcers you like, ball players you like. You miss that when it's gone. Acutely. At least I do. So I turned the game on last night. My wife went to bed early, so I watched a good chunk. I turned it off in the 8th. After the Royals jumped out in front 8-2, I turned it off for the night. But if you did watch it too, you saw a fun ball game. You saw a real fun ball game. You saw Cole Ragans strike out 10 in 5 innings. You saw Salvador Perez move into number 2 all-time on the Royals' career RBI list, trailing only George Brett. All 10 guys who played for the Royals last night got a hit, including John Rave, who had the coolest bunt single that you can imagine. One of those perfect bunts that just rolls on the dirt but never wobbles into foul territory. It was a fun game. Royals won it 8-4. That moves them to 79 and 78 on the season, with 5 games left against the Angels and the A's, neither of whom are particularly good. And in theory, that would give the Royals a chance to finish with a winning record. In fact, if you go 3-2, they will cinch a winning record for a second consecutive season. If you are of a certain age as a Royals fan, by which I mean my age, if you're in your late 30s or your mid 30s, now, I know we've got some listeners who are younger than that, some listeners who are older, but let's just put you in the shoes of a Royals fan of my vintage. Born in the mid-'80s. No memory of what it was in the late 70s under Whitey Herzog. No memory of the 85 series title. No memory of that. If you are a Royals fan of my vintage or younger, you do not get to take a winning season, particularly consecutive winning seasons, for granted. You know how many times they've done that in my life? At least in my memory. Let's do my memory. Let's start with the 90s. So go back to 1990. Do you realize that the Royals have only had 2 stretches of seasons where they have won or had back-to-back winning campaigns? 1993 and 1994, they had winning seasons. And then, of course, 2013, 2014, and 2015, they had consecutive winning seasons. There are multiple generations of Royals fans who have not been able to take winning with even that level of consistency for granted. And it is hard to do. It is the hardest regular season in sports, the baseball season. You have a winning season in Major League Baseball, it wasn't an accident. You earned it. Even if the stats say, well, geez, you had a, like Cleveland right now, they got a negative run differential. You found a way to win those games. You found a way over and over. You do it for a 30-game stretch, it's a fluke. You do it for 60. You do it for 82, like a basketball season or a hockey season, and it still feels a bit like an accident. 162, there are no accidents. You're good or you're not. You're a winner or you're not. And the Royals are on the cusp of being a winner for a second consecutive season. And I think that's important, not just from the perspective of it's been really rare, as I just underlined, in recent Royals history. I can't call it modern history. I think, you're stretching the bounds of modern by not including like the 80s or like the modern era of baseball is still, I think, considered the expansion era. So going back to the 60s, I don't know when that definition changes. If it already has, who's in charge of changing that definition? But let's just say in Royals franchise history since 1990, this has not been something that you take for granted, back-to-back winning seasons. So I think it's important from that perspective for those generations of Royals fans. But I also think that if you can finish above 500 this year, even if you don't make the playoffs, and obviously the Royals aren't going to, it still feels like you move in a positive direction. It doesn't feel like you took a significant step back, even though you did not qualify for the playoffs for a second straight season. It will not feel like a dramatic step in the wrong direction. It will feel like you maybe spun your wheels a little bit, and that's not a fun feeling to have. You wanted to continue on an upward trajectory after the excitement of last year's run to the division series, but you didn't give any ground either. You maybe didn't go on the upswing, but you didn't slide either. You can feel that, I think, a little easier if you come in with a winning record. And this group ought to be able to do that, honestly. Like playing the Angels and the A's in Los Angeles and Sacramento. Neither of those teams is particularly good. Everybody who's eliminated at this stage in the season has real big Cancun on 3 energy to them. If the Royals play like these games matter, they can win 3 of the next 5. And then they're above 500. And look, they don't throw parades and they don't hang banners for 82 and 80. But again, I think the signs of progress, or at least stabilization for what had been a very volatile franchise for about a decade before, where you had the high highs of the back-to-back pennants and the low lows of those 100-loss seasons. A winning record in back-to-back years would represent something that has eluded this franchise for the better part of 35 years, and that is positive stability. And they were stable through the 2000s, right? They lost and lost and lost and lost some more. That's stability in a perverse kind of way, but positive stability, winning stability, building a consistent winner, something you can sell to free agents, something you can sell to fans, something you can sell if you're trying to get those fans to vote to build you a new stadium. That's important. It's important for everybody involved. So I do think you're going to see the Royals leave it on the field these final 5 games. I do think you're going to see this group. It's because I think it's a prideful group. I think it's a young and energetic group. I think the leaders of this team, I think it matters to them. It matters to Bobby Witt Jr. to be a winner. It matters to Vinny Pasquantino. It matters to Salvador Perez, who knows full well what it's like to play out the string when you've lost 100 games. And winning seasons aren't something that you take for granted. And again, I know you're not throwing any parades down Grand Avenue for 82 and 80 or 83 and 79. But it still represents something positive that you can take with you into the long off season. We'll take a time out here at 580 Sports Talk. Get some of your reaction from the YouTube comments, from the text line, 785-272-9429. A quick thought on the star of last night's game. I wish we would have gotten to see more Cole Ragans this year. We're going to hear from Patrick Mahomes later this hour. We'll hear from Andy Reid in the 5 o'clock hour. We got Tim Fitzgerald, GoPowerCat.com, joining us in the 4 o'clock hour, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. We are just getting started on this Wednesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. $3:29 on 580 Sports Talk. Just getting things revved up on this Wednesday edition of the show. We're with you until 6 tonight. Royals baseball tonight at 8 o'clock with pregame coverage. Another 8:38 Central Time first pitch out in Anaheim. Royals will send Stephen Kolek to the mound against Yusei Kikuchi of the Angels, another left-hander that the Royals will see. Again, 8:38 first pitch. You'll catch it right here on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9 on the Royals Baseball Network. Question from the 785 on the text line. And again, want to hear from you. You can send text throughout the show, 785-272-9429. Royals seem to be playing like there's no pressure and are just having fun. Why couldn't they have played like that a few weeks ago? Well, the simple answer is because there was pressure a couple of weeks ago, and you do tend to play a little more free when there's less on the line. It can have a lot of different effects, psychological effects on a clubhouse. But I think when you look back at this September for the Royals and where things kind of went wrong for them, a lot of guys who had floated the offensive explosion or the offensive fireworks in July and August just kind of stopped hitting. Mike Yastrzemski hasn't done a thing in September after he was red hot in August after being acquired in that trade with the Giants. Randall Grichuk has like 5 hits this month. the whole month. He's got like 5 hits. So that obviously was problematic. Salvador Perez cooling off before, again, starting to get heated up again on that most recent road trip. Really, since that win over Philadelphia, Salvi's hit like the Salvi we saw during the summer as he chases. He's already reached 30 home runs. He's chasing 100 RBI for the season. But yeah, the offense just kind of cratered when the calendar flipped. They scored. They looked like the offense of May when they scored 1 run and 3 runs in their loss to the Angels. One of those was a 1-run loss. They scored 1 run in a loss to Minnesota. They scored in that Cleveland series in the games that they lost to the Guardians. They scored 2 runs, 0 runs, and 2 runs. Offense just stopped clicking. And that's kind of when you write an epitaph of this season for the Royals, it sort of starts there. Just not enough on offense. And it's an appropriate way, I think, for the season to have kind of come to an end and petered out here in September, because that was why they were chasing, why they were in a position where they were chasing, where they never caught back up to the pack after that rough May that they had. So who knew that Cleveland's pitching staff was 5 Greg Maddoxes all of a sudden? They've had 18, this is unbelievable, 18 consecutive games where the Cleveland starting pitcher has allowed 2 or fewer earned runs. That is bonkers, because we talked about it during the year. That's not an imposing group of starting pitchers. They got, like, Gavin Williams has been really good since May, and Tanner Bybee's been good in his career. He didn't have a very good year this year, but other than that, it's just some guys, and they're kicking butt and taking names. Man, that's baseball for you. Sometimes you can't really explain it. JB asks, Salvi gets a statue, right? Maybe not at Kauffman because of the concrete, which is a good bit. They could put it at the new stadium and they could fashion it out of some of the concrete from Kauffman Stadium. That would be appropriate. You repurpose some of that concrete. George has a statue. I think all the retired numbers have statues. Yeah, because Frank White's got a statue. George has a statue. Dick Hauser's got a statue. Yes, they're going to retire Salvi's number, which means he's going to get a statue. I am more lenient on the subject of retiring numbers. Like, I don't believe you put everybody in like the Baseball Hall of Fame, although I am pro Salvador Perez into the Baseball Hall of Fame. But I am all for the idea of retiring numbers, because it's fun to go and sit and you see the number. Like, I want to someday take my son to wherever it is that the Royals are playing home games when my son is old enough, and I want him to ask me about the retired numbers. And I want to be able to tell him, oh, yeah, they got number 4 up there. That was Alex Gordon. I saw him play. Oh, yeah, they got number 13 up there. That was Salvador Perez. I saw him play. I talked to him in his locker a couple of times. Like, I want to be able to do that. I think retired numbers are, I think the more the merrier. I think the more the merrier on retired numbers. Like, obviously you get to the point where, like, the Yankees logistically probably can't keep retiring numbers, but like, you got like a half dozen to a dozen retired numbers out there. That's fun because you get to share the memories and pass them down to the generations. But yes, Salvi's getting his number retired, so Salvi's getting a statue. 100%. 100%. That is happening. Vance asked me who's going to the World Series in the YouTube comments. And Vance, that is a great question. And I got no idea. It is wide freaking open all the way around. I have no idea who's going to go to the World Series. Probably the Dodgers in the National League. They'll piece it together. They got Ohtani throwing 5 shutout innings every time he pitches now. I think that'll probably help them in short series, even though their bullpen is a train wreck. That's concerning for the postseason, but I'll go with the Dodgers in the National League. In the American League, your guess is as good as mine. Why would you bet against the Guardians right now, right? They can't lose. They cannot lose. Texas from the 785 wonders if they'll retire the numbers of Eric Hosmer and Mike Moustakas. Probably not. I think if Hosmer had stayed with the Royals for the rest of his career, he might have had a case. But the guys whose numbers they've retired, there's only 2 of them, but those were career Royals, never wore another uniform, which is why I think Alex Gordon and Salvador Perez ought to be next. I think if that's the standard, then I'm fine with that being the standard, but that would obviously exclude Hosmer and Moustakas. But, you know, you can remember those guys by pointing at the flags that they won, the 2 pennants in the World Championship. That's how you remember those guys. That's what they hung. Real quick thought, one last thought about the Royals. We'll get back into some football the rest of the show. But in case you forgot, not getting to watch him pitch for the balance of the summer because of his injury, Cole Ragans is so good. 10 strikeouts in 5 innings. He did give up the home run to Royal killer Bryce Teodosio, which looked like an accident more than anything else. But Cole Ragans is awesome. And I know you're going to look at the back of his baseball card at the end of this season and say, well, if he's so awesome, why does the ERA start with a 5? Because that's true. He's got a 5.02 earned run average. We talk about fielding independent numbers on this show. His fielding independent ERA this year is 2.69. The difference between the two, ERA is descriptive. ERA is what happened. What happened is a lot of runs scored against Cole Ragans this year. Fielding independent, though, is predictive. Fielding independent tells you a guy who strikes out this many guys and walks this few guys and doesn't give up a lot of home runs should have a lot better fortune in the long haul than Cole Ragans had at preventing runs this year. So buy Cole Ragans stock for 2026. And if the Royals can get even 25 starts from him next year, which would be double what they've gotten from him this year, they will be playoff contenders again, because there's only but so many guys in all of baseball who are capable on their day of being as good as that guy is on his. And he served up a reminder last night. We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes next on 580 Sports Talk. It is a Wednesday, and the Kansas City Chiefs play on Sunday, so that means Today was a podium day, press conference day out at One Arrowhead Drive. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes both speaking to the media. It's the only chance we get to hear from Mahomes during the week. And Mahomes spoke for about 11 minutes on a variety of topics today. Some good questions. And as always, from Mahomes, some interesting answers. Without any further ado, here's the Chiefs QB1 as they get set to take on the Ravens at Arrowhead this Sunday.
The meeting room, so you had guys hold you accountable for throwing the ball deep. Like, can you just kind of share what you did in the offseason to make sure that you were chucking it deep?
Yeah, no, I think just with the guys that we have, I've kind of put it on myself to give guys chances down the field. And even though we haven't performed offensively as a whole, I think the entire year so far as efficient and scoring points the way we want to, we've kind of made an emphasis to give guys chances down the field to make plays, and guys have made those plays. And so that started in training camp, that started in OTAs. Is like I told guys to hold me accountable, and I wanted to hold myself accountable that I give the guys the chances to make plays, and they're proving that they can make them.
How's it feel to wind up now? I mean, you got a lot more of the big wind-up throws.
Yeah, I mean, it's still something that I have to continue to get better and better at. I think that there's more opportunities to make these plays in the games than these first few weeks. But I think it just gives me the confidence when guys like Tyquan come down with the catch that he did, that I can keep forcing the ball down the field and let them try to make plays. And we'll continue to get better and better at that, as well as with the rest of the offense. But, I mean, it's always super exciting when you get a chance to throw the ball down the field.
Patrick, you've always done what next man up with the receiving core. Over the course of your career, you kind of doing that a lot. Just this year, you practice a lot with Rasheed and St. Joe, and then you go on, and now Tyquan's leading, Hollywood's leading Brazil. Just how have you been able to maintain each receiver that comes up, or each receiving unit that you have for that available that day, to make sure that you keep firing, keep within the system? Some of those guys have to mix and match sometimes within their own system.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's things here and there that you have to work on, but I think more than anything, the guys are putting in the work during the week. And so I think for us, at the end of the day, whenever we start getting these guys back like Xavier and Rasheed when he gets back, it's going to make us even better because guys had to step up, and they've stepped up and made plays. And you've seen Hollywood, you've seen Juju, you've seen Tyquan all step up into their roles and have even bigger roles within the offense. And so we'll continue to get better and better as the season goes, but it'll be an important week this week.
Patrick, you mentioned Juju. He's kind of on the radar a little bit, but being pretty consistent. What's he mean for that?
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of like the leader of those guys, man. I mean, he's someone who's been there and done it. You know, he's won the Super Bowl. He's had big 1,000-yard receiving seasons. He's kind of been in all different types of offenses, and so he can be that guy that they can lean on. They can ask questions to, and then I think he does a great job when his number gets called in the game to make the plays happen, and being available whenever I need someone to throw to, and has a good feel for the defenses and what the defenses are presenting. And so he's someone that's super important to that room just in general, but he stepped up whenever we needed him to these first few weeks and made plays happen.
Before last game, you described the offense as close. As you reviewed, what signs in the second half did you see that maybe team getting closer to what you want?
Yeah, I think just the execution. You know, we cleaned up our execution. I got the ball out. I made the right decisions, made the right throws. I think that's the most important thing is like just making the throws, making the throws whenever they're there, getting the ball out of my hand, letting guys make plays happen. And I did that in the second half. And I mean, the only drive that we didn't score was the one that I missed Tyquan. So, I mean, it just proves that if you make the throws that the offense can be productive and can have the progress that we want. I just got to go out there and make the plays happen.
Patrick, I know you've been blitzed more than you typically have. And what's that been like, and what's the adjustment?
Yeah, I mean, I think you see that we're able to throw the ball down the field a little bit more now because of that. But I think it's just it's a product of the teams that we played and them testing our young offensive linemen. But I think our offensive line have done a great job of picking up those blitzes and giving me opportunities. And that's why you've been able to see some of these deep shots down the field. And you got to be able to execute and showcase that you can hit those throws. And if you do that, they'll adjust, and then we have to adjust as well. And so that's what's beautiful about the NFL is you have to be able to adjust on the fly and make things happen.
Patrick, I know you get together with the coaches on the night and go through the plays that are there. Andy gives you input. I mean, how much do you take out or put in, and how much is really your choice on what plays end up going into the actual game?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Reid gives me kind of free roam. That if I don't like plays, to tell him, he'll take them out of there, and we do a good job. They communicate with me throughout the week. I mean, it starts yesterday or even the day before on Monday. Of just kind of talking about stuff that they're thinking about, and then I communicate kind of what I'm seeing, and then I trust in Coach Reid that he's going to make the game plan the way that he has done for a long time now, and he always makes great ones. And so I think more than anything is trusting in him and then telling him whenever I'm not feeling the play that I'm not feeling.
Has it evolved over time? I mean, when you first got here, everything's a pass, everything's wide open, and maybe now you're a little more cerebral in what you're.
I mean, stuff evolves for sure, just because I've seen more and more defenses and know the team more and more and know what we're trying to do. I think more than anything, I think the trust that he has with me has gotten even more and more just throughout the years. And a lot of those times, especially when I go to the sideline there before like a timeout or kind of like the review with the Taekwondo play, and then we talk about it, and I tell him a play that I like, he'll call it, and he has that trust in me that I'm seeing it right out on the football field, and he gives me the chance to go out there and make it happen. It's huge. I think just having a guy that you work with every single week, all training camp, all off season, and then having him back in the building, he always has a smile on his face, and you can tell the guys, they like him. And kind of like Juju, he's kind of been one of those guys that's been here, and he's won a Super Bowl. And even though he's young, he can kind of be a leader for those guys in the room of how we work and how we get after things. And so obviously he can't practice, but he can be in the meetings and listen to the stuff that we're working on. And it definitely gives a boost to the whole receiving room and the whole offense.
Actually, you're one of the more veteran guys in the league now. I know this is a little bit off topic, but you spend a lot of time in between the games or, talking to the referees. I just wonder what's your conversations like with the referees and what are those back and forth nature in the middle of a game?
Yeah, I think more than anything, they're just communicating different things that you're seeing. And you might ask kind of like the alignment stuff or like the motion type things and the timings and stuff like that, just to making sure that we're doing everything the right way and doing everything the way that we're supposed to. And so that's stuff that we continue to get better and better at, but just keeping an open dialogue, because those guys are trying to make the game go as smoothly as possible and want us to go out there and let the players dictate the game. And so we try to just have that open communication with them. And I think that's kind of like every QB in the league is that you have those communications like that.
You guys ran the ball a little more efficiently with the running backs this past week, and as we watched the Ravens on Monday, they were a little susceptible to run maybe. I mean, I know it's cat and mouse every week. It's going to be a little bit different here and there, but do you feel like the run game has some momentum and can be a bigger part of, having success and balancing everything out?
Yeah, I mean, we want to be balanced. I mean, I think every team in the NFL does, and I thought this last week we did a better job of running the ball, and I thought the offensive line did a good job of doing the run blocking together and the chemistry building between them. And I know that you saw Monday night at the Ravens, but they're a prideful group, man. I don't think they're going to be very happy with the film, and they're going to come out with the mentality of stopping the run. So it'll be a great test for us. And so it'll be able to go up there and be able to run the football and then be able to pass off of it. Will be important to us, stay balanced, and go up against a team that's going to be as hungry as we are. So it'll be a great football game this weekend.
Matt? How much, Patrick, in the last three games, and especially in the second half, have you felt that, you talked about the offensive line and the job they've been doing the pass protection, that you've been allowed the ability to push your eyes downfield and maybe look for some of those targets? Do you feel that increasing in your trust in that ability?
100%. I mean, I think that's been huge. This last defensive line that we played had all type of first rounders, all type of talent, and I thought the offensive line did a great job of giving me time to throw the ball down the field. And it's my feet, you tell, are a little bit more calm because I understand that these guys can protect and they can give me time to make these throws, and I'll continue to get better and better at that and try to make some of these throws more accurate down the field. And instead of hitting 1 to 2 a game, making that 3 to 4 and then 5 to 6, and then defense will back up and it'll help us out with other stuff within the offense. And so I'm just excited for where this offense is going. I know it hasn't been the perfect product that we've put out there so far, but there's a lot of good too.
The last three, Nick, Sarin, and then Vi. Go ahead, Nick. Patrick, with the Ravens offense that you're going against that can hang 30 to 40 without a problem, how do you approach this week with your teammates and from an execution perspective and mentality-wise?
Yeah, I think for us, we got to start faster. I think every game we've kind of said that we haven't really got to do that. And we were moving the ball early in the game last week, but we're settling with field goals. And when you play teams that are really good and have dynamic quarterbacks like the Ravens do, you got to turn those into touchdowns. And that will not only put pressure on them, but it unleashes Spags to be able to do what he wants to do. And you always see when we get leads, it's like he's great. He's a great finisher. He's a great closer of being able to give you different looks and stuff like that. And so we got to take pressure off our defense and put pressure onto them by starting faster. And we can be better at that this week.
The play where the ball goes backwards to Isaiah Pacheco, is that in your head? You know he's there. and you're just looking to flip it out there. And as you turned around in the moment of having to get it out, there's almost like, whoa, you try to pull it back as you're letting it go. Like, just what was going through your head? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I got to see where I'm throwing before I throw it. We had called a play, and you don't want those short completions in that 2-minute type tempo. And so you kind of take the incompletion. And so I kind of went to burn it at his feet. And then seeing him as I was throwing it, obviously he was backwards, and that's why I knew immediately when I threw it. But you got to just see the guy before you throw it there. Obviously, I'm trying to throw it out to him in the flat and everything like that. But I got to see where he's at. He's trying to chip and give me time to throw the ball down the field. And so luckily I was able to get the ball back. And then defense was able to get a huge stop for us there in the end of the half. But I got to be better at not just throwing it blindly, just kind of knowing where those guys are before I burn it at their feet.
Patrick, on the intermediate and deep passes, when you haven't connected, how much are you seeing passes you wanted back and versus maybe just a matter of communication?
I would say the one that I for sure wanted back was the post one before the half. I knew that when Taekwon won, I knew that the backside guy had gotten held by the route that we had, the backside safety. And so I could probably put that ball out further. I threw it more across the field. But with the leverage that the corner had, I wish I'd have thrown it further and let Taekwon just run underneath it, probably a touchdown if I do that. And then the one that was on the 3rd and short, it's kind of just more of a miscommunication, just knowing that I would want it. If I had more time, I could have sold it a little bit more, but it was a run play, so I didn't want linemen downfield. And so I kind of wanted Taekwon's eyes back a little bit earlier, but he sees the open space. And so that's just communication stuff that we can work on. And he's in a bigger role in the stuff that he hasn't done before. And so that'll be important. I mean, obviously we missed touchdown. We still win the game. He'll learn from that. We'll hit next time we get the opportunity.
So that was Patrick Mahomes earlier today at One Arrowhead Drive. We'll hear from Andy Reid later on in the show. We'll take a break here. When we come back, wrap up the 3 o'clock hour. There's a rumor out there that the Chiefs might be interested in pursuing a running back from the Dolphins at the trade deadline. We'll tell you who next on 580 Sports Talk. Wrapping up this first of 3 hours on 580 Sports Talk on this Wednesday. Jeremy Fowler and Dan Graziano had their weekly notes, what we're hearing, rumors, innuendo, whatever, column. I don't know. They should come up with a name for it so I can more easily refer to it. And contained in their column today was some early trade deadline speculation. And what Chiefs fans have been dying to hear, especially the ones who text or comment on the YouTube channel on the live chat of this program. The Chiefs should make a phone call for a running back on the Miami Dolphins. Here's what Jeremy Fowler writes. The Chiefs also need a lift on offense. Luckily for them, receivers Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice will return to the lineup before the trade deadline. Those two, Hollywood Brown and the resurgent Tyquan Thornton, might be enough. But the running game still needs help. Miami isn't playing running back Jalen Wright, who had a lot of fans in the 2024 draft. It might be worth a call for Kansas City. Yeah, not the name you were anticipating hearing. Jalen Wright was a 4th-round pick out of Tennessee. He was second-team All-SEC as a senior. He did not have a particularly stellar rookie campaign, appearing in 15 games for the Dolphins, rushed 68 times, 249 yards, just 3.7 yards per carry, only caught 3 passes for 8 yards, did not score a touchdown. He has not been active for any of the Dolphins games so far this season. Look, free talent is free talent, and I'm sure that you could get Jalen Wright for a song, but if you're going to meaningfully upgrade the running back room, you got to make more of a substantial phone call than that. I don't know that there's a Christian McCaffrey type of upgrade to be made, but I don't think Jalen Wright is the kind of guy that moves the needle. But that is national speculation that the Chiefs would be indeed interested in adding to their running back room. Tim Fitzgerald joins us next hour. Also, the Chiefs' big money men not playing up to their dollar figures. We'll talk about that to start the next hour, 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk on this Wednesday. Thanks for being here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our video channels. Check us out on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk, or on Facebook, WIBW News. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not yet. We are 80 subscribers shy of our next stretch goal of 900 subscribers. When we get to 900 subscribers, we will all do 580 Sports Talk karaoke. We will all sing songs that you choose for us. We may not necessarily choose your song. We're going to take a whole bushel of suggestions and we're going to draw them out of a hat. So you can't force me to sing Brooks and Dunn's My Maria, but you can submit it and hope that's the one I draw out of a hat. I will be really upset if that's the song I have to sing. I saw somebody else say they want to hear me sing Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. Let me tell you, I would knock that one out of the park. But we got to get our subscribers up. So if you are out there listening and you are not a YouTube subscriber and you want to hear the 580 Sports Talk crew sing, or even if you don't, but you just like fun and mirth and a good time on the radio, go subscribe to the YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. All it costs you is a click or a tap of your screen, and you can get us closer to singing for all of you. My name is Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis will be along here in a little bit. Brendan Wrzinski is off today. He had 2 more hours of the program still to come. Lots more football talk on the show today. Coming up at the bottom of this hour, Tim Fitzgerald at GoPowerCat.com is going to join us. We're going to get Fitz's take on K-State's Big 12 conference opener against UCF this coming Saturday at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. I will say that even though I am not convinced that UCF is all of a sudden good just because they shellacked North Carolina on Saturday, they certainly feel a little bit more imposing to this point than I thought they were going to. Certainly than I thought they were going to after they needed a last-minute touchdown to beat Jacksonville State in their season opener. That, coupled with K-State's well-documented issues on this program and elsewhere, have that game feeling a little bit more like a toss-up than anybody would have anticipated back in August. I believe the last line I saw, and I haven't looked at it today, but the last one I saw was K-State -6. We'll talk to Fitz about the matchup, what he expects from K-State out of the bye week, what he's been hearing, what's coming out of that K-State football program in the Veneer Complex during the bye week, coming out of the bye week and heading into a Saturday that is, you guys know how loath I am to use this term. We've been friends long enough that you know that I do not like the term must win. Like last night was a must win for the Royals until it wasn't because they were eliminated from the playoffs, right? You got to win to stay in, then yeah, that's a must win game. Everything else is not a must win. You can go get it back on the other side until you can't. So is Saturday at Bill Snyder Family Stadium a must win for K-State to attain bowl eligibility? No, because they'll have 7 more chances to get 6 wins. 7 more chances to go 5-2. They'll have 7 more chances to go 7-2 in the Big 12. It's not even a must-win for their Big 12 championship game chances in a technical sense. But it's about as close to a must-win as I'm willing to call Game 5 of the season, of a college football season, for K-State on Saturday. They gotta win that football game. They gotta win that football game. For a lot of reasons, not just bowl eligibility or conference title hopes or whatever. They just have to go win a football game. So we will talk about that with Tim Fitzgerald coming up here in just a little bit, about 25 minutes or so. Still got What Is Wrong With You to come this hour. A little bit of One Gotta Go. We'll have headlines in the 5 o'clock hour. Talk a little bit more baseball, get you set for Royals-Angels game 2 tonight. That's coming up again later on in the show. Want to hear from you? 785-272-9429 is the text line number. That is 785-272-9429. Can also get at us in that YouTube chat if you are watching on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Point of clarification for 580 Sports Talk karaoke. JB asked if we would sing songs with cussing in the lyrics. We would not cuss. We are still beholden to FCC rules and regulations. But we would get creative. If there were profanities in the song, we would get creative. Paul says, going to spam submit Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio. Let me tell you something about Gangsta's Paradise, because that's the song that pops up. One of our sister stations, one of the stations we have in this building. I don't know if you people know this or not. You people. What am I doing calling y'all you people? You good people, you kind men and women who tune into the program. My friends. Pals, maybe you're aware of this and maybe you're not. But we run 98.5 Jack FM out of this building. So over on the FM dial, if you ever tuned into Jack FM, that's us. We own that station. Many of you know that, some of you don't. Anyway, so I listen to 98.5 quite a bit. If I'm not listening to a game or one of the sports programs we got over here on 580, I'm probably listening to 98.5. I don't have a very long commute. I don't spend a lot of time in the car each day. I might hear like a song or two a day. But I listen to 98.5. I like the variety. Anyway, they play Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio on that station every now and again. And I get a big kick out of it because, it's like, that's the whole conceit of the Jack radio station, right? You play like, oh, here are the Foo Fighters, and here's Foreigner, and here's Whitney Houston, and here's Michael Jackson, and here's Coolio, like out of nowhere. But there are some songs where you think, man, that person singing in the song sang the crap out of their part. And the guy singing the hook on Gangsta's Paradise, I don't remember the guy's name, unfortunately. I have to go look this up. I got to give this guy the credit that he deserves. But the guy singing the hook on Gangsta's Paradise, you talk about putting your foot into something. LV, that's the guy's name. He sings the hell out of that hook, man. I could only hope to duplicate that vocal performance were I to have to perform that as part of 580 Sports Talk karaoke, which you can get us closer to if you go subscribe to the YouTube channel today. Again, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. I want to talk about the Chiefs in context of who their most expensive players are and what they're getting out of their most expensive players right now. Because, like, in theory, and this isn't always true, but the guys you're paying the most money are your best players, or at the very least, they are among your most important players. Like I said, not always true. Like if you got a quarterback on a rookie deal, they're not going to have one of the top cap hits on your team, but they're probably the most important guy on your team for a lot of reasons. If you've got a young player you haven't done a contract extension with, or a young player you've just done a contract extension with, that player may not be one of the biggest cap hits on your team, but they're certainly one of your better players, one of your more important players. Like, for example, Trent McDuffie's cap hit this year on the final year of his rookie deal before the fifth-year option kicks in is $4,460,029. All these numbers, dollar figures I'm going to give you are from SpoTrack. And I don't have to give you the exact dollar downs to the one place. Just call it $4.46 million, the cap hit for Trent McDuffie. He's obviously more important to the Chiefs than that, but that's what he counts against the cap. George Karlaftis just signed his big contract extension this offseason, but the cap hits are backloaded. So Karlaftis only counts $6.573 million to the cap this year. That's the 12th highest cap hit on the Chiefs. Nick Bolton, same thought. A lot more about Nick Bolton later in the show. Nick Bolton's extension starts this year, but the big cap hits are backloaded. So this year his cap hit is only $6.5 million. But by and large, if you're paying a guy a lot of money, you're not doing it out of charity. You're paying a guy a lot of money because you anticipate them being worth that kind of money. Typically, these are players either you signed as free agents or you did the contract extension for when they were smash successes as rookies or successes on their second contracts. The Chiefs have 7 players on their roster with 8-figure cap hits of $10 million or more. 8 players on their roster. To give you an idea, The Chargers have 2 on their active roster. That doesn't count Rashawn Slater, who's out for the year. But right now, they're only fielding 2 guys with 8-figure cap hits. Justin Herbert, Derwin James. Chiefs have 7 guys with 8-figure cap hits. Patrick Mahomes' cap hit is $28.062 million. I have no complaints about Patrick Mahomes' performance to start 2025. It's not been A+, but it's been pretty darn good, given what he has to work with, given the circumstances of trailing in games. He's not being super reckless with the football. He's made a rejuvenated borderline star out of Tyquan Thornton through 3 weeks. Mahomes playing some good football. I don't have any issues with Patrick Mahomes as the highest cap hit on the Chiefs roster. That's fine. The second highest cap hit for the Chiefs, I'll give you a second to guess. I'll give you a second to think who the second highest cap hit on the team is. Did you guess Jawan Taylor? Because it's Jawan Taylor. He counts for 9.8% of the salary cap this year for the Chiefs, $27.391 million. I read this today over at a website I didn't really know existed called A to Z Sports. Charles Goldman covers the NFL for A to Z Sports. He had an article today about Jawan Taylor, and I will quote this passage from the article. Taylor enters week 4 tied with Bears offensive lineman Darnell Wright for the league leading penalties through 3 weeks with 6 penalties. He leads the league with 7 total flags, including 1 offsetting penalty. His 3 pre-snap penalties, 2 false starts and 1 illegal formation, are also tied for the league lead. His 4 offensive holding penalties are double that of any other player in the league to this point in the season. 3 of his 7 penalties have come on 3rd down, making a manageable down and distance that much worse. 3 more have come on 1st and 10, starting a fresh set of downs off on the wrong foot. End of quote. I know I presented evidence earlier this week that says in one-on-one situations so far this year, Taylor's actually performed fairly well. That's a data point in favor of an explanation. Whether it's a satisfying explanation is up to you. But I believe that that is the explanation for why Jawan Taylor has had the kind of leash that he has had. That when he is not being flagged, he's doing his job fairly well. But it's too many flags, man. And ill-timed bad flags. And the leash can't be a whole lot longer. And the reason it can't be a whole lot longer, we'll get to one of them in here in just a little bit. But yeah, that's the guy with the second biggest cap hit on the Chiefs, Jawan Taylor. Third biggest cap hit's Chris Jones. Now, Chris Jones looked like Chris Jones against the Giants, and I would still bet on Chris Jones looking like Chris Jones as the season goes forward. But Chris Jones only has 1 sack in 3 games. It's not the kind of production you pay $23.6 million to the cap for. Fourth highest paid Chief against the cap, Travis Kelce, $19.801 million against the salary cap. Travis Kelce through 3 weeks has 10 catches for 134 yards and a touchdown. Those aren't awful numbers, certainly not anywhere near Travis Kelce's peak, but those are fine numbers. 3 catches a week. Got a touchdown already. It took him forever to find the end zone last year, it felt like. But when it comes to success rate and catch rate on his 17 targets, career lows in both categories for Travis Kelce. Pass plays to Kelce have never been less successful, and he's never caught fewer of his targets. That's your 4th highest paid player. Your 5th highest paid player against the salary cap is Trey Smith, $14.25 million to the cap. They didn't backload his contract extension against the salary cap quite as much as they did with Karlaftis and with Bolton. I don't have any issues with Trey Smith so far. I think he's played pretty well. There's maybe been a penalty, maybe 2, but Trey Smith is turning out some good football. I got no issue with Trey Smith making the money he makes. The 6th highest paid Chief to the salary cap is Jalen Moore, $11.195 million cap hit. Jalen Moore has a really good seat to all the games. You'd pay good money for the view that Jalen Moore has to watch the Kansas City Chiefs. But that is your 6th most expensive player. He's not playing. On purpose, he's not playing. And some of this is the found money that Josh Simmons has been. But that's a lot of money to not get any production out of. 7th highest paid Chief, the 7th and final Chief with an 8-figure cap hit is Creed Humphrey. And I don't have any issues with Creed at $10.79 million to the salary cap. I think he's played pretty well. No issues with Creed Humphrey. Still, I think the best center in the game. If you stretch the list out and you just say, okay, what about the top 10 guys to the cap for the Chiefs? Top 10 cap hits for the Chiefs. That would include 3 more players. Drew Tranquill is 8th. Drew Tranquill's cap hit is $8.5 million. Drew Tranquill had 2 sacks in the opener against the Chargers. He's played fine. No issue with Drew Tranquill. The 9th biggest cap hit for the Chiefs is Mike Dana, who was ineffective and then injured, though he did return to the practice field today. And 10th, the 10th most expensive Chief to the salary cap is Christian Fulton at an even $7 million to the salary cap, and we've barely seen him. Not just in games, we've barely seen him in practice. We didn't hardly see him in training camp. So that's the allocation of your resources for the Chiefs. Of their 10 most expensive guys, you have the best quarterback in the NFL, the best center in the NFL, one of the best guards in the NFL, and that's good. And a solid linebacker in Drew Tranquill. You also have a defensive tackle whose skills might be slipping a little bit. You have a tight end whose skills are quite obviously slipping a lot. You have an edge rusher who hasn't been very good since he signed his contract before last season. You have a cornerback who's barely played. You have a right tackle who has not played. And you have maybe the most harmful player to his team's cause in the NFL in Juwan Taylor. You don't need me to tell you, but the obvious conclusion here is that is not a real good allocation of resources. Let's compare this to the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, you go look at who their most expensive guys are. They've got 5 guys who have 8-figure cap hits. Jalen Hurts, Lane Johnson, A.J. Brown, Jordan Mailata, and Dallas Goedert. And yeah, Goddard's been dinged up, but those first 4 guys been pretty good. And you saw what it looks like without Lane Johnson when he got dinged up against the Rams. That wasn't good for the Eagles. Saw how important he is. But those are their 5 big money guys, and they're getting about what they would expect from their big money guys. And then the next 5 highest paid guys to the salary cap are Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, Landon Dickerson, Jalen Carter, and Jordan Davis. And all of those guys, bare minimum, Pro Bowlers, at best, all pros. Those are their 10 most expensive guys. And for the record, Barkley, Dickerson, Carter, and Davis both have smaller cap hits than Christian Fulton. They both come in at under $7 million to the salary cap. That is a much better allocation of resources. That is perhaps part of the reason why that team is 3-0. What about the Bills in the AFC? Obviously, Josh Allen's their highest paid player to the cap. He's pretty good. Dawson Knox is their second highest paid player to the salary cap. Okay, that's not like ideal. You know, not necessarily what you want. He's got 4 catches through 3 games this year. Not ideal. But Matt Milano is third highest paid, and he's super important. You saw that when he didn't play against Miami. Really good player. Deion Dawkins, stud left tackle, is 4th highest paid. Ed Oliver, stud defensive lineman, is the 5th highest paid. And that's it. Those are your guys who make the big salary cap hits. Those guys. All of them plus contributors so far, except for Dawson Knox. So it's hard not to conclude that the Chiefs have not allocated their resources real well for this 2025 roster. Part of the reason why they've struggled out of the gate. Now, do I think that there are better days ahead for Chris Jones? I do. I don't think he's going to finish with, what would he be on pace for? Like 5.5 sacks. I guess that's about where he finished last year. I would be surprised if he finished there again this year. I really would. I think he's going to be fine. I'm not worried long-term. Short-term, I guess. I'm not worried about 2025 Chris Jones. 2026, 2027, beyond Chris Jones, that may not be the Chiefs' problem. But, like, I think they'll eventually get their money's worth out of Chris Jones. But are they getting $19 million worth of tight end in Travis Kelce? That's hard to argue that they are, because they aren't. Jalen Moore is riding pine. Juwan Taylor probably should be. That's tough. That's something that the Chiefs are having to overcome. And this is not, don't get me wrong, this is not me saying, oh, wow, Brett Veach is actually bad at his job. That's not me saying that. I think Brett Veach is pretty good at his job, and he's got the hardware to prove it. But no general manager bats 1,000. And in the construction of this roster, what the Chiefs have ended up with, they are in a spot for this season where they are in an awkward position of having to lean a little bit more heavily on guys who don't make a lot of money, because the guys who do make all the money aren't quite what they used to be, or never quite were what they were being paid, like Juwan Taylor. A question from the text line from the 785. Why couldn't the Chiefs have traded Juwan Taylor instead of Joe Thuney this offseason to clear cap space, have Jalen Moore take over at right tackle? The problem with that thought is, if we're sitting here talking about how bad Juwan Taylor is or has been and dumping all over Juwan Taylor, we're supposed to then turn around and think another team is going to want that and want that $27 million cap hit. Nah, buddy, she's just stuck with that, man. All the other 31 teams got film too. They can all see what we see. They can all see the stats that we see too. So just not that simple. Unfortunately, in theory, yes. Would you have rather cleared the Juwan Taylor money than the Joe Thuney money? Yeah, you would have. But you could find a taker for Joe Thuney. The question that really bears asking is, could they have kept Joe Thuney if they'd let Nick Bolton walk, which they were never going to do? But could they have? Could they have threaded that needle? And would that be a more valuable piece for this Chiefs team to have? I think you can argue yes. I think you can argue no. I'll have more to say about Nick Bolton later on in the program. We'll take a time out here on 580 Sports Talk. We can come back with what is wrong with you. And then we got Tim Fitzgerald to GoPowerCat.com for the Wildcat Wrap-Up as we continue on here on 580 WIBW. It is What Is Wrong With You time on 580 Sports Talk. 2 new stories competing on today's show. Spencer Dupuis joins us for What Is Wrong With You. Hi, Spencer.
I am back-ish. I'll be back by the 5 o'clock hour.
Spencer, you've got a story today. I've got a story today. Both trying to take down the woman, the escort, who sprayed one of her clients with silly string and then threw the can at him and lacerated his forehead. The silly string assault is our current winner. What have you got for your story today?
We are going to Florida. Florida man Jose L. Gonzalez Moncado, 39, has been charged with introducing contraband into a jail. According to the criminal complaint on September 5th, Pine County Sheriff's Department deputies responded to the report of a drone flying over the Federal Corrections Institute in Sandstone. Federal Correction Institute staff reported that the drone with an object attached underneath it flew over the prison. The object, believed to have been a cell phone, was not dropped. A deputy initiated a traffic stop on a vehicle believed to be involved with the drone through an FCI translator. The driver was the driver of the vehicle gave the deputy consent to search it. A black backpack was found in the trunk, to which the driver stated it belonged to a passenger who was identified as Moncada. According to the complaint, the driver told deputies that they were on a road trip for their birthday and Moncada was paying for the drive. It was reported that they had stopped in Sandstone for sightseeing at a lake. Moncada had expressed an interest in the Sandstone area. During he explained of their whereabouts. Law enforcement observed him shaking and appearing nervous. A drone controller, several cell phones, large rolls of bubble wrap were located in the backpack, along with a pay stub for Moncada. A cell phone was wrapped in bubble wrap in the backpack and was attached to a fishing leader in a way that could be attached to the drone to make a drop. The complaint said FCI staff stated the cell phones were not allowed to be in prison, obviously, and inmates pay $400 for each contraband cell phone. Moncada was charged with one count of introducing contraband into the jail, which could hold a maximum sentence of 182 days in jail or a $1,500 fine if convicted.
Yeah, he was trying to traffic some cell phones.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. We've had stories like that before. People flying drones over like the airspace of a prison. We had the meth cannon, one of our monthly winners this year. People are always trying to introduce contraband to prisons in creative ways. This guy got caught. Didn't even make the drop. Chickened out of making the drop and still got busted.
But hey, nobody knows who it was supposed to be for yet. They didn't say that.
Maybe
so the person didn't get the fine.
Yeah, that's true. Nobody in jail got in trouble yet for what happened.
They'll probably find out who eventually, though.
All right, for my story today, we have another story of somebody spraying a can and getting in trouble for it. We're going to Florence County, South Carolina, where investigators with the sheriff's office have arrested a man alleged to have been responsible for creating a foul odor at West Florence High School. A Facebook post from the law enforcement agency that said that between August 25th and September 19th, Alexander Paul Robertson Lewis, that's a lot of names, a teaching assistant to West Florence High School, sprayed an internet-acquired spray designed to imitate fecal odor. It had a can of fart spray. He was spraying it all over the school. Investigators said Lewis used the spray on multiple occasions and over time resulted in a disruption of the school, children requiring medical attention for respiratory issues, and incurred a bill of over $55,000 for inspection and damage to the school's air conditioning system. The 32-year-old was arrested, charged with disturbing schools and malicious injury to property.
Two things.
You injured the property with your fart spray.
Two things. I would have thought this was something a student would have done.
Right, not like the TA trying to be cool.
Yeah, and second thing, I found the story last night, and we didn't have a rundown yet, and by the time I got back to it, you had already chosen it, so
you like this one?
Yes, it has my vote.
Yeah, it is extremely funny.
Yes.
The idea that he disrupted the learning environment to the point he was making kids retch. Like, I have not encountered I'm familiar with the idea of a fart spray. I've never encountered it. I don't know how approximate it is to the real thing. I've been changing diapers long enough. I'm a little bit.
I've encountered it. It smells like dookie.
I've been changing diapers long enough. There's still a few that make me go, whoa, and have to step back from the changing table. But it smells like what it smells like.
Yeah.
But Man, having to send kids to the nurse because it's so foul. I think that wins today. I think it wins the week.
Yeah, I think it slightly edges out the silly string.
Yeah, the
hooker.
the fart spray in the school.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And not a
place for it.
student, like an adult.
Be one thing, if it was a 16-year-old kid doing a prank. This is a full-grown adult, a TA. The TA with the fart spray. That's our winner on What Is Wrong With You. Tim Fitzgerald joins us next for Wildcat Wrap-Up.
Do you have pain in your feet, ankles, knees?
We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by Tim Fitzgerald at GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. We call this the Wildcat Wrap-Up on 580 Sports Talk. We do it every Wednesday. Fitz joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. Go be a VIP subscriber to 24/7 Sports and get Fitz and the Crew's insider info from Manhattan. Fitz, Chris Kleiman has worn some of the emotion, some of the disappointment from this 1-3 start to the season for the Wildcats on his sleeve at his weekly press conferences, at his post-game press conferences. You had a chance to talk to him on Monday as the Wildcats prepare to return from their bye week. What did the overall mood of him and the players who spoke, what did it feel like to you to hear them back from the bye?
I thought Coach Kleiman was really good. Kind of reflective. You know, he acted like a coach who knows what position his team's in. And, I don't want to call this a make or break game, a must win. It sure does feel that way. I mean, if you lose at home to UCF, where are you going in the season? There's no place to go but up, but do you have the ability to do it? And I thought he came into that with a kind of cautious optimism. Last week's practices were apparently notably better. I've had multiple people tell me that. But better than what? I mean, how bad was it before? We don't know. And have they been better this week? Well, we'll talk to the coordinators tomorrow, kind of get an idea. But this team has to come out and play with a lot more enthusiasm and focus, cut down on mistakes, and just make some plays, man. They haven't been a very fun team. They've had some big plays, but they don't convert first downs very well, efficiently, and on the defense, as we know, fourth down's been a nightmare for them. They keep giving up fourth down conversions. So they got a long ways to go. Winning this is a step in the right direction, but certainly it doesn't get you very far.
You have mentioned, this is not the first time I've heard you say that this is a team that needs to play with more enthusiasm. What do you think accounts for the enthusiasm gap with this group, or what has accounted for? Obviously, you struggle mentally when you aren't winning the way that you expect to win. That's understandable. That's at any level of sports where that's a difficult thing to deal with. But that wasn't the case, necessarily before the 1-3 start. It's been a problem in all four of their games before the season slid into major disappointment territory. So where do you think that has come from? Why do you think this has been a team that has lacked that enthusiasm?
Well, let's start with the defense. They went to this new four-man front, new for most of these players. They had gotten pretty comfortable in the three-man front, but the coaches made the decision that it's time to go back to four-man front, which is a better defense for this version of the Big 12. And they've been acting like a bunch of guys who know what they're supposed to do, but they're not reacting quite yet. It's not instinctive. And when it gets to that point, it'll improve. Maybe the practices, they've had here between 2 weeks to prepare, maybe they will get better at fully understanding what they're supposed to do on each play and attack that instead of, kind of standing there saying, this is where I'm supposed to be, actually go and attack the line of scrimmage from that position. Offensively, I don't think they know who the hell they are. And losing Dylan Edwards, I think, stole some of their identity. They haven't been able to adapt to his absence. I think he'll be back. We don't know quite yet. If he'll be, I'm sure he'll play, but how healthy is he? And if they can start defining who they are, particularly that offensive line that has, for lack of a better word, sucked, particularly in run situations, they're just not moving anyone. And so I guess the thing that ties both sides of the ball together, they're not winning the line of scrimmage. They're getting pushed around. They're getting pushed around by North Dakota and Army. And those are things K-State fans aren't used to seeing. And I think that's really at the heart of a very vocal fan base right now with their displeasure, because this does not look like a Kansas State team, whether it was Bill Snyder or Chris Kleiman. This is so out of character to see a passive team losing the line of scrimmage and making a bunch of mistakes. It's not the identity they expect.
Our guest is Tim Fitzgerald, GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. This is the Wildcat Wrap-Up on 580 Sports Talk. To that point about the fan base, this was not a fan base that was thrilled with last season and the way that last season came to an end and the disappointing finish to last season in Big 12 play, and that displeasure filtered over to the other revenue sport for K-State, which is men's basketball, and the disappointing season they had over there. What effect, if any, do you think that might have on what the crowd looks like for an 11 a.m. kick against a, frankly, not a rival, not a historic Big 12 rival in UCF? What effect, if any, do you think that will have on what the crowd at the Bill is like on Saturday?
That's a good point. I think it'll be crowded. I mean, I don't think it'll be a packed house. I mean, if you've got nosebleed seats and you live in Western Kansas, you ain't coming with an 11 a.m. kick. Most people won't. And UCF isn't going to bring a bunch of people, so those tickets that normally go to a visiting team will probably be mostly unsold. But I think the student section and the people that are really bought in will be bought in and do the thing that K-State fans typically do, try to pick up their team. And if K-State as a football team comes out and gives them reasons of hope, I think it'll go back. It'll just flip a switch and go back to where Bill Snyder Family Stadium is. If they come out half-heartedly and start making mistakes and maybe Avery Johnson isn't playing up to capabilities, I'm afraid you're going to hear boos because the fans are really angry right now. This is not what they expect. This is so below the standard. And I think most fans realize maybe sometimes things aren't going to go right and you lose a game. But not putting your effort out there is exactly opposite of the K-State way. And I always talk about the culture of being at an ag school. And, the culture of the student body is you wake up early, you get your work done, and then you go have fun. But you'll work hard. And that's kind of the culture of the school. And so when you see a team that represents your school not doing that to the standard you expect, you are not happy at all.
UCF coming to town on Saturday off of a win over North Carolina. And Fitz, I don't know how much, if any, of that game you got to watch. North Carolina looked like one of the worst coached teams in the country playing against UCF. And their coach is literally Bill Belichick. Like that's a whole other thing. We could spend half an hour talking about the debacle in Chapel Hill this year. I'm sorry, Chapel Bill this year. But it was a notably strong performance from UCF, a program that we didn't really know what to make of in Scott Frost's first year back, but they look like they found a quarterback. What ways are they going to be a difficult test for a K-State team that is still, again, trying to define itself?
Well, what a great schedule for Scott Frost to get off to a good start. He's played Jacksonville State, North Carolina, AT&T, and North Carolina.
A&T.
And I don't know how good they are, but they play with confidence. They're playing fast, and they just have built a lot of good feelings about where they're at. So I think it's really important in case they come out and metaphorically punch them in the mouth and get after them, maybe break that confidence a little bit. Because if you let a team hang around, as we've seen, they're going to hang around and maybe beat you. So K-State needs to have a definitive win. I watched that game. I was impressed with UCF in some ways. I don't think they're overwhelmingly good, but you can tell they're much better coached. But until yesterday, when Mike Gundy got fired, I literally wanted to see a bowl game between Oklahoma State and North Carolina. I wanted to see a level of bad football that would delight us all, because they're both so horrible. And this is my one observation about North Carolina. If I'm Tom Brady, I'm sitting around going, "Thanks, Bill. My legend is growing exponentially because it looks like I carried your ass to the Super Bowl."
Tim Fitzgerald joining us here for the Wildcat Wrap-Up on 580 Sports Talk. Fitz and the crew cover the Cats over at GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Let's shift gears for a moment to basketball because we've got ourselves a Big 12 basketball schedule released earlier this week. What were your thoughts? What jumped out to you about how K-State sets up in their Big 12 schedule?
Well, it's a hard start. You got BYU coming in. They're going to be uber talented, but you probably want to catch them early. Then you go to Arizona. Welcome to conference play.
Yeah.
But then you got Arizona State, and I think there's like 3 games there that are really manageable. And then later in the schedule, I think there's 3 or 4 games in a row that are also manageable. And, other than Kansas, you don't, and maybe Iowa State, I guess, you don't really catch many teams of substance more than once. You got the trip to Arizona, you go to Houston, but you get Tech in Manhattan, you get Baylor in Manhattan. So I think it's a manageable schedule and what should be a really good conference. And when we met with Jerome Tang on Monday, there's a different vibe. He likes this team a lot more than what he didn't say he didn't like the last 2 teams. But remember last year he was talking about, we got to find a leader. Someone's got to step and be a leader. And that ended up being a problem the whole year. They feel like they're more defined now. And, Coach Driscoll's come in and just really up the game in terms of offense. And so I think you're going to see a much more functional offense. And the biggest dispute right now in the basketball program is Coach Tang wants to work on defense. Coach Driscoll wants to work on offense. And we'll see who wins out, what looks better when they finally get going.
Is it more a positive that the home and homes, other than the KU game, are West Virginia and TCU, 2 programs that might not be very good this year? Or is it more of a negative that the home and homes, you don't get the opportunity to, for example, go to Hilton or have that home and home with some of your more historic rivals?
Yeah, it's weird. They cut back to the 18-game schedule. I guess they do only have, one opponent, two opponents they go home and home with? But,
three. KU, West Virginia, and TCU.
Yep. That's good. I mean, getting TCU and West Virginia twice really does help. And avoiding Iowa State twice, I don't know why they're not playing Iowa State twice. It seems like a rivalry that the Big 12 doesn't understand that. But that worked out well. Then you get, early in the schedule, you get Arizona, and that's a good measurement on the road to see where you're at. But I'll also point out all three of his teams have kind of started slowly. The first one was the best, but they still weren't impressive until they kind of got going in Big 12 play. I think if you really want a home court advantage, you better show something in that non-conference. You better play up to a better standard, a higher standard, and get some momentum going into that tip-off of Big 12 play the early January with BYU coming in. I think the Cougars could be really good.
Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com joins us every Wednesday at this time on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline for the Wildcat Wrap-Up. Check out Fitz's musings, YouTubes, and podcasts over at GoPowerCat.com. Become a VIP subscriber, 24/7 Sports, to get all of it. Fitz, it's always a pleasure. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you, buddy.
That is Tim Fitzgerald. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We will wrap up this 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. Shout out to a texter from the 913 who submitted a one gotta go for consideration because I'm solo for the moment and can't exactly bounce one off of a co-host. So I will take one from the text line. Texter from the 913. One gotta go. Game 7 of the NBA Finals, Game 7 of the World Series, Game 7 of a Stanley Cup Final, or the final day of the Masters. I'm assuming this means as a spectator or on site. Because I guess the one that would have to go would be the Masters, because then you got to walk. I don't have to walk any of those other places. But if I want to really follow the final day of the Masters, I got to walk. Or I guess I could camp out at like Amen Corner or something. But then, at some point I'm going to walk because I want to follow the leader to the end of the course. So more exertion with the final day of the Masters than the other three. But in all seriousness, I would love to go to Augusta. That's a bucket list thing for me, is to get out to, even if it's just a pro-am day or par 3 day at Augusta. I would love to do that. I would keep Game 7 of the World Series. I would keep Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals just because I think those sports, just the tension and the drama builds more so than in basketball, just by the nature of the pace of baseball and by the nature of the scoring opportunities being so few and far between in the Stanley Cup Final. Those are just more tense sporting events. So probably the least tense, the least enjoyable from that perspective would be the 7th game of the NBA Finals. So I give you two different answers to that question. As a spectator, probably don't want to walk Augusta. I'd just as soon get a seat and sit. But as just a fan, just watching for enjoyment, definitely would throw the NBA Finals out. I just think you get more tension with the other three. They're all great, though. That's why we love sports, why I do what we do. In the 5 o'clock hour, we're going to talk about Nick Bolton. What has he been so far this year? And we'll preview Royals baseball tonight, plus headlines on the final hour, 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour of this Wednesday on 580 Sports Talk. One more hour to hang out together today here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and Facebook page, WIBW News. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you for this final hour of the show. Royals baseball much later tonight. Once again, 8 o'clock pregame, 8:38 first pitch tonight between the Royals and the Angels, game 2 of their 3-game series, with the elimination number now at 0 and the Royals' playoff hopes officially and totally extinguished. The magic number now becomes 3, and that is the number of wins that would guarantee the Royals a winning season. 3-2 in their last 5 doesn't. I think they can get there.
I think it was very poetic that like 20 minutes before first pitch last night they were eliminated, because it seems like before first pitch we found out within like hours all the time of a player going on the injured list when it meant the pitcher, like, hey, we're like, it'd be like 5:30 for a 7:05 game or whatever, and be like, hey, so-and-so's not doing well in rehab. We're going to shut them down for the year. I just feel like, right before game time, hey, you're eliminated.
Yeah, the Guardians' 5-2 victory over the Tigers last night meant that the Royals were officially eliminated from playoff contention. We'll get into that a little bit later on this hour. Also still to come this hour, Nick Bolton's performance through 3 weeks is basically what Nick Bolton's performance always is. It is whatever you want it to be. It is whatever you see when you watch number 32 in the middle of that Chiefs defense. Because some will see the captain, the quarterback of the Chiefs defense, and some will see a player whose limitations stand out a bit too much for their liking. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And we'll hear from Andy Reid, the coach of the Chiefs. He spoke earlier. Andy Reid, the coach of the Chiefs. Yeah, we're going to hear from some random dude named Andy Reid. You know who I mean when I say we're going to hear from Andy Reid. We will play some of his audio from earlier today as he spoke to the media for about 6 minutes, had some things to say, and we will hear from Andy Reid. So that's all still to come this hour. Want to hear from you. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. That is 785-272-9429. You can also interact in the YouTube live chat if you are watching the show on the YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. And if you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, no day like today to go subscribe to the YouTube channel. When we get to 900 total subscribers, and we were at 820 when we signed on today, when we get to 900 subscribers, we're doing 580 Sports Talk karaoke. So maybe that comes off as more threat than promise to you. But trust
it appears
us,
it has. We haven't made a very big jump the last week.
Well, it happened slowly and then all at once. That's how we got to 800. I'm sure that's how we'll get to 900. True. But that is what we will do. That is our next stretch goal. So get at us and subscribe to the YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Mark B's in the YouTube chat says he's not real interested in Royals baseball tonight. Where do you come down on this, Spencer? The idea of the meaningless September game, like, I almost like watching them because I miss like the routine of it. I miss how mundane 9 innings can feel sometimes. Like, I much prefer high stakes baseball, but when it gets to this time of year, you start, I personally, because it's my favorite sport, I start thinking, I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss it when it's gone. I'm going to wish I'd watched more baseball.
I'm going to miss it too. But one thing that I'll say is it's nice for, like, I don't know, like my team in particular, young guys playing the Nationals, getting young guys going, getting them some work, and then also seeing young guys get accomplishments. James Wood today, guy on your fantasy baseball team, he had 2 tanks.
Did he today?
Yes, he's now
hell yeah
30 for the season.
You know, it's my championship week, so that's huge for me. You get 2 dongs from James Wood.
Seeing him hit for 30 home runs this season, even though we knew, everybody in the world knew the Nationals weren't going to be competitive. Just things like that.
And for the Royals, from their perspective, it's been great to see Cole Ragans back on the mound here in September.
I mean, I was assuming he was on a pitch count last night because he only had 72 pitches.
It's been fun to watch Carter Jensen. Jack Caglianone's had a better September, making some progress. So, yeah, you get some of that with the Royals.
Heck, even all the things accomplishing that Salvador Perez is.
Yeah, Salvy's up to number 2 all-time in RBI for the Royals, trying to get to 100 RBI. Yeah, that meant a lot of...
Also, Vinny, all of a sudden, I didn't realize he has 107 RBIs this season.
Yeah, he went over 100 earlier this month. And
I didn't even realize that.
Not a lot of 30-homer, 100 RBI seasons in Royals history. In fact, there have only been 2 guys who've ever done it twice. We talked about this on the show, I think. I threw this bit of trivia out. There's only 2 guys in Royals history with multiple 30-homer, 100 RBI seasons. And Salvador Perez is bidding to become the latest entry. I think, because he hasn't done it yet. He's got only 1 season with both 30 homers and 100 RBI. He drove in 104 last year, but he only hit 27 home runs. This is only his second 30 home run season of his career. So it's 2 guys in Royals history who've had 30 homers and 100 RBI in a season twice. Maybe we didn't do this. Maybe this was in a text thread I was in with a bunch of other baseball nerds. But yeah, 2 guys in Royals history, 30 homers, 100 RBI in the same season more than once.
I saw something on X today, which not a lot of positive things on X, especially lately. But one was, it's yesterday was the 23rd of September. And for a team that at one point didn't have all the starters pitching went on IL. The fact that they were eliminated just about 6 games left in the season, that says a lot. Because usually when you don't have pitching, your team's just gone. Even though you have to have the most elite offense in the world in order to make the playoffs when all your pitchers at one point were on the IL.
I'm going to go ahead and let the listeners guess if they want. If they can name the 2 other Royals with multiple 30-homer and 100 RBI seasons. And I'll tell you right now, George Brett isn't one of them. So don't guess George. It ain't him. 30-homer, 100 RBI seasons. Only 2 Royals in history who have multiple 30-homer, 100 RBI seasons. Salvador Perez would be the 3rd. He's 3 RBI away after he drove in a run last night. He would become the 3rd. There are 2 others. I want to see if anybody gets them. YouTube comments, 580 Sports Talk, text line 785-272-9429. Vance, Steve Balboni is wrong. Texter from the 785, Billy Butler is wrong. 785 texter, Jorge Soler is wrong, but your second guess is correct. Danny Tartable is one of 2. You don't remember Danny Tartable?
No.
Danny Tartable was a dude. Just a slugger. Danny Tartable is one of the 2. Text from 913, it is not Willie Wilson. I don't know. You think Willie Wilson had 30 career home runs? Wasn't really his game. One other Royal. Don't think too hard, guys. Don't think too hard. For who Tartable's the hard one. Don't think too hard about this other one. It's not George. It's not Steve Alboni. Mark B, it's not Hal McRae. I'll see if anybody lands on it as we get into our 580 Sports Talk headlines here.
This person's still in the majors.
Yes. 785 texter says John Mayberry. Wrong. Not John Mayberry.
And it's
785 texter just got it. It's Bobby Witt Jr.
That's what I was.
It's Bobby Witt Jr. Like I said, don't think too hard. Bobby Witt Jr.'s done it each of the last 2 years. He's not going to get there this year. Only 23 home runs, 84 RBI.
I mean,
but if a down year,
it's not impossible. But it's not highly probable.
If a down year for prime Bobby Witt Jr. is an 853 OPS and the league leader in doubles and also the most valuable defensive player in baseball, I think that's a pretty darn good baseball player. So there it is. Yeah, Danny Tartable, Bobby Witt Jr., the only Royals in club history to go 30 homers, 100 RBI in multiple seasons. Salvador Perez, 3 RBIs away from making that list 1 player longer. All right. Good stuff. Loved a little trivia break there. Let's get into our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Let's get to the first participation report of the week for the Chiefs and the Ravens. That game coming up on Sunday afternoon at Arrowhead Stadium. And the big news for the Chiefs today, Xavier Worthy, a full participant in practice coming off of his dislocated shoulder in week 1. The insinuation there is that Worthy is on track to play on Sunday against the Ravens. And what a boost that would be for this Chiefs offense to get him back. The only players who were limited today were Mike Dana and Christian Fulton, both of whom missed last week's game, didn't practice at all last week. Dana with a quad injury, Fulton with the ankle injury. And they were both limited today. Everybody else practiced in full. There are a bunch of players listed on the injury report, but no concerns for any of the afflicted. Nick Bolton's got a rib injury. Hollywood Brown with an ankle. Brian Cook with that neck injury he
Good to
suffered.
see him full participant after that.
Yeah,
that was a little scary.
Yeah, it was a scary play. They didn't seem too concerned about it after the game, but yeah, definitely a scary moment where he landed kind of awkwardly defending that pass in the end zone. Creed Humphreys dealing with a rib injury. Ashton Gelati has an elbow injury. Patrick Mahomes, a tender right wrist. Charles Omenihu, a chest injury after Cam Scadaboo knocked him into next week on a chip block. Jalen Royals, also a full participant with his knee injury, could be on track to see his NFL debut this week.
Well, he was active. He never saw the field.
Right.
On Sunday. So that was weird.
Juwan Taylor with a knee and an ankle injury is a full participant. Drew Tranquil with a knee, a full participant as well. But everybody practiced in some capacity for the Chiefs as they gear up for week 4. The Ravens, not so much. You would imagine they'd be really cautious on a short week. They've got one player listed as limited participant. That's tight end Isaiah Likely. He's got a foot injury.
Which is ironic because last year he had one toe from away from a touchdown.
Yeah, that's right. 6 players listed as did not participate in practice today. In order of importance, defensive tackles Travis Jones and Broderick Washington. Jones with a knee and Washington with an ankle. Fullback Patrick Ricard dealing with a calf injury. He was a DNP. Ronnie Stanley, pretty important, starting left tackle for the Ravens. He's dealing with an ankle injury. He was a DNP. And the Ravens' 2 best pass rushers, Nnamdi Madubuike and Kyle Van Noy, did not practice today. Madubuike with a neck injury, Van Noy with a hamstring. Neither played on Monday night. And
head coach John Harbaugh has already ruled out Madubuike.
Is that is official?
Yes, he said he won't play due to that neck injury.
So Madubuike already out for Sunday, and if Van Noy doesn't go, the Ravens are down their 2 best pass rushers. That is notable because they managed 0 sacks of Jared Goff on Monday night without those 2 guys, and that was with home field advantage. They had 0 sacks. So something to make note of as the week continues. Another reason, even though both teams are at 1-2, and even though 1-3 feels like an unimaginable crisis for either of these teams with Super Bowl aspirations, I would much rather be the Chiefs going into Sunday than the Ravens. Give me a headline, Spencer.
Yes, the the Pro Football Hall of Fame has announced the 2026 nominees, the first round, the first year eligible guys, the guys that they announced this big old list. Among them, former Chiefs quarterback, where is it? I just lost it. Alex Smith, sorry.
There we go.
Former Chiefs quarterback Alex Smith among them, along with quarterback Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald. They're picked in their first year of eligibility. Other nominees in their first year include Phillip Rivers, tight ends Greg Olson and Jason Witten, running backs Frank Gore and LaShawn McCoy, offensive lineman David DeCastro and Marquise Pouncey, defensive lineman Geno Adkins and Jarrell Casey, along with linebacker Thomas Davis. Adam Vinatieri, Torrey Holt, Luke Kuechly, Will Anderson, they're guaranteed spots for the final time.
The final 15.
The final 15 spots because they were part of the final few last year. Other returning finalists include Eli Manning, Fred Taylor, Steve Smith Sr., Reggie Wayne, Jahari Evans, Marshall Yonda, Terrell Suggs, and Darren Woodson, among a long list of players.
Yeah, it is. It's a long list of players who get consideration for the Hall of Fame class. It's 128 modern era players. So we have just mentioned the ones that are first year eligible. There are a bunch of others. We'd sit here and try and pick through all the ex-Chiefs on this list, and we'd be here all day. But like Priest Holmes, Jamal Charles are on this list. Like I said, we'd be here all day if we went through all 128 modern era candidates. As far as the first year eligible nominees, Drew Brees is definitely getting in the Hall of Fame. Like, that's a no-brainer. Yeah. Larry Fitzgerald is getting in the Hall of Fame, and I would think of all of the first-year guys, he has the best chance to get in right away. In fact, I would be stunned if he did not. Between being so well regarded as a person and being just a brilliant player his entire career, I think Larry Fitzgerald first. these other first years, like Jake, or to me, it's the same conversation. Undeniably good players. Their career numbers look really great just because they stuck around forever. But Witten probably more dominant at his position than Gore was at his. Like the Witten Hall of Fame debate, I really don't have a whole lot of interest in wading into any further. Frank Gore, to me, not a Hall of Famer. Hall of Very Good for me. Shady McCoy, you forgot to mention ex-Chief Shady McCoy.
Oh yeah, I mean I mentioned him, but I didn't mention him as an ex-Chief.
Yeah, Chief, great.
Quite frankly, I forgot he had a cup of coffee here.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would like to forget about Shady McCoy's Chiefs career. But that was the thing. Actually, I might be getting his tenure mixed up with Lev Bell's because Shady's a Super Bowl champion. So never mind. No, yeah, Shady was on the Super Bowl team, in the Super Bowl winning team in 2019.
What did he do though?
He gained 465 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground and caught 34 passes. He had a little juice. And then he went and won a ring with Tampa Bay the next year. He had a little juice.
Certified ring chaser.
Yes,
Sean McCoy.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, it's a long list of modern era guys. You can read it yourself at profootballhof.com. But those are the first year guys. Again, Willie Anderson, Torrey Holt, Luke Kuechly, Adam Vinatieri are already automatically into the final 15. So there are 11 spots for 128 guys. And you wonder why it feels like there are a lot of deserving players who aren't already in the Hall of Fame. Like, it's going to take some of these guys a long time. Like,
put in Brian Mitchell.
That's your hobby horse right now is Brian Mitchell. He's on the list. He is one of the modern era nominees.
He deserves to be in as much as Devin Hester deserves to be in.
The guy I'm pounding the table for presently is, well, all the Seahawks, but specifically put Marshawn Lynch in the damn Hall of Fame. I want to see that.
Yeah.
I want to see that speech. That's why I want Marshawn Lynch in the Hall of Fame. I want to hear the speech.
Yeah, I'd like to too. Let's see what he puts into it.
Also, if Terrell Davis is in, then Sean Alexander should be in because they were both MVPs. Anyway,
Washington football great Sean Alexander.
Yeah, there are a lot of guys on this list that once they drop off of the modern era consideration will probably not be considered. This is not unlike I know the Baseball Hall of Fame rule where if you don't get 5% of the ballot, you never come back. Like, you got to get 5% of the vote to be considered in the next year, or you drop off the ballot. I don't know how long it is that these guys stay on the ballot. Like Mark B says, Alex Smith isn't making it in the Hall of Fame. And you're right, he's not. But like, how long does he stay in the consideration? Like, how long do we consider
he should
Wesley Walls, who's one of the modern era nominees. Wesley Walls was a tight end, played for Carolina, played for Green Bay. He had a nice career. No, he should have to buy a ticket to go to the Hall of Fame. There's no shame in that. But how long do these guys stay on the list, and how do they determine at what point do they say, hey, you know what? Maybe we don't need to consider Elvis Dumervil anymore. Nobody's brought him up in years.
I do think Alex Smith should have a section in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, not as an enshrinee as this dude gave his life to football and could have walked away and then got back on the field.
Yeah, he's definitely in the Hall of Gruesome Injuries, that broken leg. But the fact that he came back from that's the kind of thing you put in like a case.
Yeah, like
you
it's
say,
somewhere in there's a permanent like fixture in the Pro Football. Have you ever been to the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
I have not, no.
So I've been, I want to say, I guess it was only once, but they have like certain, things that are there.
Uh-huh.
And I think that like part of, I'm assuming he still has it. Have you seen his leg prosthetic thing that he made into like a Super Bowl trophy?
Yeah.
That should go in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, like some acknowledgement of guys who had to overcome that level of injury adversity. Like that would be like a good like section of the Hall of Fame. Guys who like overcame Adrian Peterson coming back from the ACL in 9 months and winning the MVP the next year. Jack Youngblood playing on a broken leg, stuff like that. Yeah, no, Alex Smith is a part of the history of the NFL. And he's a part of the story of the league. And he's a part of the story of the league for a couple of reasons. One is that courageous comeback from what could have been a career-altering and career-ending injury. And the other is he's the guy that mentored Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
Like that is for our intents and purposes why he is part of the
And
the
he
NFL
did it the
story.
right way, too.
Yeah, extremely well-liked guy. Nobody doesn't like Alex Smith. A hall of great teammates, first ballot, no doubt about it. There's not really a whole lot else in the way of headlines, so we're going to call it on headlines. We'll come back. We'll hear from Andy Reid, and we're going to talk about Nick Bolton. What do you think Nick Bolton has been so far this year? I could ask 10 different people and get 10 different answers. Pro Football Focus has an answer you might be surprised by. We'll talk about it next on 580 Sports Talk. Fine 30 and 580 Sports Talk. Got about half an hour left to hang out with you today. Thanks for being with us. Nick Bolton is not one of the top 10 salary cap hits for the Kansas City Chiefs here in this 2025 season. Like George Karlaftis, who also signed an extension this offseason, the money is a little bit more backloaded on Bolton's deal. It's also not a huge contract that Nick Bolton is on, relatively speaking. Bolton signed that it wasn't really an extension. He was a free agent. So bit of a misnomer on my part. My apologies there. But his cap hit this year is only $6.5 million. It goes up next year to $19.25 million. And it would be $19.25 million in 2027 if the Chiefs don't execute one of the potential outs in the 3-year deal where they could get out with only $4.25 million in dead cap. But the 3-year extension for $45 million, that's not onerous by any stretch of the imagination. The cap hit only $6.5 million. So when we were talking earlier in the 4 o'clock hour about the money guys for the Chiefs, their highest paid guys, Nick Bolton is not in 2025 one of the highest paid Chiefs, or one of the Chiefs with the highest percentage, taking up the highest percentage of the salary cap. I watched Sunday night's game, and I thought Nick Bolton stunk. I mentioned it on the instant reaction that we did, Spencer, when you and me and Brendan, we hopped on the instant reaction, and I called out Nick Bolton. I say he wasn't particularly good. There were a couple of plays where he got flattened by Cam Scadaboo, although let's be fair, that's just what Cam Scadaboo does. Gee, I wonder if there could have been anybody who knew that Cam Scadaboo would be like an effective NFL player. Maybe anybody who watched him in college. He's one of those score one for the that boy nice college football watchers out there who just say, oh, yeah, you should take him. I'm not worried about his measurables. Did you watch him in college? That boy nice. Cam Scadaboo is first team that boy nice. And now he's making plays in the NFL. Not surprising at all if you watched a lick of Arizona State football last year. Anyway, so I didn't think Bolton was good at all. And yet, before he took questions in his post-game press conference, Andy Reid credited Nick Bolton for his play, mentioned his 14 tackles, and you don't get a call out from your coach unprompted unless your coach is really happy with the way you played, or really unhappy, I suppose. But he was really happy with the way Nick Bolton had played in a way that was foreign to me, because what I had seen was Nick Bolton miss tackles and the Chiefs give up a bunch of underneath passing yards because Nick Bolton, as we all know, even people who like Nick Bolton as a player will admit he's not great in coverage. I am not a Nick Bolton hater. I just didn't think he was good on Sunday. And I didn't think he was good in week 1. And so it did not surprise me that Pro Football Focus, who grades players out of scale 0 to 100 every week, has not been high on Bolton these first 3 weeks. What I did not expect is that they would grade Bolton as one of the very worst players at his position so far this season. He has a grade, again, on a scale of 0 to 100. Nick Bolton's PFF grade through 3 weeks is 45.2. That is 106th out of 123 linebackers who played enough snaps to have a grade from PFF.
I also want to say you've been dogging your guy and my guy, Bobby Wagner, and he's top 5.
He is. I love Bobby Wagner. I'll never dog Bobby Wagner. I just say he's old and slow.
Yeah, but you said that.
That's not dogging him.
You slandered his name multiple times.
I'm old and slow. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with being old and slow. I am old and slow.
But he's grading out very high.
He is.
So far.
He's going to the Hall of Fame.
Well,
okay, he's a Hall of Famer, and Nick Bolton is something less than that.
I told Brennan earlier, I said, give it to like week 9, and it will significantly drop because he didn't play it all in the preseason, so he's fresh.
So whatever you want to see with Nick Bolton is what you will see. Like the points in favor of Bolton are easy to make. Mark B makes them in the YouTube comments. Says he is an extension of Steve Spagnuolo on the field. He's not flashy, but he's assignment sounds. Gets guys organized where they need to be. That is precisely what the Chiefs feel about Nick Bolton. It is why they re-signed him. I think Steve Spagnuolo would have quit his job if Brett Veach had said, hey, you're going to have to do without Nick Bolton. I maybe that's a little extreme, but like Nick Bolton is absolutely an extension of the defensive coordinator on the field. And that's important. I think it's important to have a guy who can call the shots in the middle of your defense. And despite what was not a very good tackling performance on Sunday night, I think generally Bolton is a reliable tackler, is where he needs to be against the run, has made some critical plays against the run. Remember last year, he made the game-winning play against Atlanta. The Falcons were driving, trying to score the winning touchdown on Sunday Night Football early in the year, and Nick Bolton filled the gap on that handoff to Tyler Algier and made the tackle, won the game. So Nick Bolton has strengths as a player. He also has to find weaknesses as a player. He's not the most athletic player. He is not good in coverage. That has been exploited, particularly by the Chargers in week 1. And with a small sample size, one really bad game or two really bad games can throw off your PFF grade. And I don't think that Nick Bolton's going to live in the 100s out of 100-plus linebackers in the NFL. I don't think his grade is going to live there all year. But it's interesting because I watched him Sunday night and didn't think he was good. And clearly PFF watched him Sunday night, and their grading, they didn't think he was good. And Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo, by proxy, thought he was awesome. So, again, whatever you want to see with Nick Bolton is what you're going to see. And I think that it almost gets to the point where the debate about Nick Bolton isn't even worth having because he is what he is. And if you like him and you appreciate what he brings, you're going to appreciate it. If you're going to be critical about what he doesn't bring, then that's all you're going to see. He is the Rorschach test for this Chiefs team. And I don't know that there are a lot of movable opinions on one side or the other of that. Speaking of Andy Reid, he was speaking earlier today, One Arrowhead Drive. Let's hear what the head coach of the Chiefs had to say.
All right. Don't have any injuries for you. Everybody's going to practice today, so that's a positive. Look for the challenge of playing the Ravens. Good football team. We played them the last couple of years. We think they know us and we know them pretty much, so it should be a heck of a battle. And look forward to that challenge. Look forward to coming back here to Arrowhead and playing. So, anyways, with that, time's yours.
Coach, the play to Isaiah Pacheco, where he's coming back, obviously something was going wrong. Can you kind of explain how he ended up behind, and are you trying for a lateral there, or it just kind of get blown up by what the defense?
Yeah, it was the release on it. Yeah, we weren't trying to, not once or twice, so we don't want that. But he was trying to chip on the tackle and got caught up in there, and it bumped him out too wide. So we'll fix that.
Have you seen enough from Xavier that the optimism level has grown for a return potentially this week?
Yeah.
How important is it just to see him in practice and being more than limited to getting out there on his
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll just evaluate him and take it day by day, but he feels good, so we'll see.
How have you been going across just, this offense with, you had Taekwondo and Juju, and now you bring Xavier back, and then in the preseason you were doing it with Rashid. Just how have you guys just adjusted, basically week to week having kind of.
Yeah, sure. I think one of the great things is that Pat's been able to get some game time with a couple of guys that he didn't have a lot of game time with between Hollywood and 80. So, I mean, I think it's a positive thing. And then when the other guys come in, then he's got experience with them. So I look at the production of the other two guys, Hollywood and Thornton, and I think that's a real positive for the team going down the road here.
Andy, I talked in the offseason about how you told him to throw deeper, but what does it say to you about him that he's gone out there and worked on it and now he's doing it and has had success with it?
Yeah, well, we practiced it, so he could. You've got to practice that. The percentages go down on long balls anyways compared to the short intermediate game. So the further you go down the field, so you've got to put in the time there and practice it. And as coaches, we've got to make sure we give him an opportunity to do that before game time. So we spent a little bit more time with that. So it'd be part of the offense, and then he could get used to these guys, doing their routes.
Coach, I heard a little bit of Travis's podcast today. So he said he's confident. Momentum's going the right way with the offense. Did you feel like after halftime, you came back and watched everything, you guys got some good things going and brighter days ahead, regardless of who's out there with the receivers and all?
Yeah, I thought it was better the second half, for sure. Yeah, ended on you end on a good note that way, but you got to build on that. So that's you're going against a good defense, so you got to make sure take care of business this week. Make sure we detail our work.
Coach, your thoughts about that Ravens defense? They're obviously not happy to be 1-2 either. This is neither one of you thought you'd be right here, but what did you see from them in recent study on what they have defensively for you guys?
Yeah, well, Orr he's a good one. So defense coordinator, and he brings guys from all over when needed, and at the same time they play good sound defense. On top of that, they've got good players. I'm sure he'll have some change ups from what he did with us last time, which is and we'll just have to adjust to it. So, but he does a nice job with that defense. He's got a lot of flexibility there with what he can do and with the players.
What do you expect from them? I mean, they got their backs to the wall. That's the way they approach it.
Yeah, sure. They're a tough football team. That it should be a good, tough football game, and that's the way you prepare yourself. Sure.
Coach, Juwan hasn't had another penalty than the other guys. Knock said that it looks like a knee at the ankle injuries have been an issue for him too. Is there any point where he might need a break, or do you still have complete confidence in his health and his status right?
Yeah. When he doesn't have the penalties, his percentage has been good. So you could argue one of the better tackles in his pass protection game. So I'm conscious of that, and then I'll take care of it from there. I might be giving you a call. You're looking good.
Sorry.
Coach, there is a pretty big investment in that offensive line. Are you surprised it hasn't been more effective than as far as getting the running game to be more efficient? Or I know there's a lot of factors that go into it, but they're part of the equation.
Yeah, so I thought this past week was one of their better games. Yeah, so I thought they came together there and did some good things, run game and pass. Yeah.
Steve?
Coach, Juju has been pretty consistent for you guys, kind of flown under the radar a little bit. What does he bring to the
Yeah, he's great in the room as a leader, good man, and works hard, does things the right way. He's not afraid to speak up when he sees something, which is great for the young guys to hear. And then he's a good football player. He understands space. Big body. He's not afraid to go anywhere on the football field or anybody. So that's his benefit there.
That was what Andy Reid had to say earlier today. His Wednesday media availability. That was the day I'm looking for. It is Wednesday, in fact. Interesting question there at the end about the offensive line, and Andy Reid kind of parrying that question by saying, actually, I thought it was one of their better games so far this year. I thought it was their best game of the year, which, again, they did not to say they were perfect, but certainly I thought they more than held their own against a very good Giants line. Nate Tice, who covers the NFL for Yahoo Sports, they host a podcast called Football 301. I think it's a really good listen. Nate Tice is Mike Tice's son. So somebody played football at Wisconsin and been around the game his whole life, really knows the stuff. Does a lot of like tape posts and, really, really studies up, really knows the stuff. He posted this to Blue Sky earlier today. I thought Kingsley Suamataia had his best game as a pro on Sunday night against the Giants. Still needs to work on sustaining his blocks in the run game, but he seems more settled in as a pass protector and a lot calmer with his eyes and overall play. So the point in favor of Kingsley improving, and in particular as a pass protector, because like I have the least amount of worry that he's going to be fine as a run blocker just because he's so big and he plays with violence, plays with that edge that they talk about. It's all about, can he keep the center of the pocket from being caved in? And if he is improving on that, and there's about a minute or so of clips from Sunday night's game in support of Nate's thesis here. But I think it's really promising that Kingsley is holding up the point of attack and winning some one-on-one pass block rep matchups in there against a good defensive line. So
a great defensive line. I think they got a lot of name guys.
Yeah.
Like you hear this guy gets to the quarterback a lot, about three guys on the 3 to 4 guys, including, obviously Abdul Carter, who was great at that in college and is still getting used to the NFL game. But you hear that about those guys and you're like, well, if the Chiefs can do this against them, then they can do that against some of the best in the league. And I think that might help this week, because it appears like they're going to be playing either guys that are hurt playing, or they're going to be playing guys that aren't used, or that are, backups.
Yeah.
Because the whole Ravens starting defensive line missed practice today, and one's not going to play already.
It's a very funny, a minute-long montage of Kingsley that Nate Tice has chosen here, because every single one of the plays is like a bad one for Mahomes. Like, it's some of his worst throws, like the 2 misses to Kelsey in the first half, the short one and the one down the field. But like, he's standing up Brian Burns one-on-one.
Yeah.
He's not Burns, sorry, the number 5, Thibodeau. He's standing up Thibodeau. Like there's some good stuff in on the tape. So yeah, Nate Tice over Blue Sky had the clip. He might have that on his X as well.
It's on X as well.
Yeah. So yeah, go check it out on social media if you want something to feel good about with regard to the Chiefs' first year left guard.
It is funny to look at.
Yes, because all of the throws from Mahomes, like those are his worst plays, and they're Kingsley's best, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
We'll take a break. We'll come back. Royals, game 2 of their series against the Angels tonight. We'll give you the lineups next. It does not mean anything as far as playoff chances because those are officially zeroed out for the Kansas City Royals. But they do have 5 more games left to play. Wins in 3 of their final 5 will guarantee them a second consecutive winning season, something they've only managed to do 2 other times since 1990. Told you that earlier in the show. 93, 94, back-to-back winning seasons. 2013 through 2015, 3 straight winning seasons. And trying to have back-to-back winning seasons in 2024 and 25. They'll send Stephen Kolek to the bump. He's been really good, a sub-2 ERA in his first 4 starts as a Royal, giving them length, too, which has been really impressive. Not a guy who's going to overpower anybody or overpower a lineup, but he's got a really good changeup and does a really nice job as a looking like a mid-rotation, back-of-rotation kind of guy. The right-hander for the Royals will go up against Angels lefty Yusei Kikuchi tonight. Michael Garcia will lead off. A texter on the text line earlier mentioned that that's been one of his reasons to keep watching the Royals and enjoy the Royals in 2025 has been the emergence of Michael Garcia. And even though the batting average has dipped a little bit, it's not going to finish as a 300 hitter unless he goes supernova these final 5 games. It has still absolutely been a breakout year for Michael. He's hitting 288, 16 homers, 23 steals. Super fun player and a core piece for these Royals moving forward. Bobby Witt Jr. is at shortstop. Vinny Pasquantino's at first. Salvador Perez, 3 RBI away from 100, is batting cleanup. Then Randall Grichuk in left field. It's a righty-heavy lineup against the lefty Kikuchi, naturally. Jonathan India at second base. Luke Maile will do the catching tonight and bat 7th. Then Jack Caglione gets the nod in right field, batting 8th. Tyler Tolbert is the center fielder, batting 9th. The lineup for the Angels, Nolan Schanuel at first base will lead off, followed by Taylor Ward, who homered late last night after I had gone to bed to make the final score a little bit more respectable. He's in left field. Yohan Moncada will DH. Then Joe Adell in right field. Luis Rengifo at third base. Christian Moore at second base. Oswaldo Peraza at short. Sebastian Rivero does the catching and bats eighth. And my guy, Bryce Teodosio, best player I've ever seen. Quit tormenting the Royals, for God's sake. Homered off of Ragans last night. First home run of his career.
Wow.
For Bryce Teodosio. He also made a nice sliding catch in the outfield. I've only ever seen him be amazing. I don't know how he's only hitting 213. I've only ever seen him be awesome. He is the center fielder batting ninth. So no Mike Trout in the Royals lineup tonight. An 8:38 first pitch. So 8 o'clock pregame right here on 580 WIBW FM 104.9 from the Royals Baseball Network. Detroit and Cleveland tonight. They are in a dead heat atop the AL Central, and Cleveland has the tiebreaker clinched. So all the Guardians have to do is match the Tigers, and they will have erased what was at one time in the month of June a 15.5 game deficit.
Crazy.
To win the division. It is bonkers. It doesn't make any sense. Seattle clinched playoff spot last night. 3-run double by Josh Naylor in the eighth. Gave them a 4-3 win over my beloved Colorado Rockies. See, Rockies playing meaningful games in September, just like I knew they would all along, playing in important games with playoff implications. Yankees also clinched playoff spot last night. Jose Caballero with a walk-off hit to punch the Yankees ticket to the postseason. So
shocker, they're in the postseason.
3 of the playoff spots in the AL are spoken for with Toronto, New York, and Seattle. East is still up for grabs. All the divisions still up for grabs in the American League. Over in the National League, Philadelphia has wrapped up the East, Milwaukee in the Central. The Dodgers, Padres, and Cubs have also clinched playoff spots. Mets have a 1-game lead over Arizona and Cincinnati for the final wildcard spot. I picked the Reds to go to the playoffs back in March. That'd be a nice little feather in my cap. I didn't make any other real good predictions for this year, but that would be a nice one if I could get that one over the line in Cincinnati. Tito Francona's boys sneak into the playoffs. That has been a segment I will call Baseball, It's Still Happening. After this timeout, we'll do the final word, wrap up on 580 Sports Talk. Wrapping up, walking off this Wednesday edition of 580 Sports Talk with a final word. Spencer Dupuis, what you got?
I was listening to both Patrick Mahomes and George Karlaftis earlier in their press conferences, and I think specifically Patrick Mahomes he's going to, because he's the guy. He's in and out, obviously the guy for them. He took a lot of awareness of what he did and what he hasn't done so far this season, while also complimenting his teammates like a good starting quarterback is supposed to do. But he wants to connect on 3, 4, 5 deep balls a game, right? And I think the way the offensive line is playing, if they can build off this last game, I think it could be a real threat for them if getting those other guys back and him confidence in his deep ball could be huge for the Chiefs going forward this season.
Final word for me, the Royals are not going to the playoffs in 2025. We know that officially now. And one of the reasons that they are not going back to the playoffs is because they only got 12 starts out of Cole Ragans. 13 if he makes one more before the end of the season. He showed how great he can be last night, had 10 strikeouts in 5 innings. He's really been overpowering in both of his 2 starts since coming back from his absence that went all the way back to early June. The Royals just did not have the stopper at the top of their rotation. They got really good starting pitching all year long, even with the injuries, even with some disappointing performances. Heck, it was Ragans getting injured in the first place that got Noah Cameron up to the big leagues. And what a revelation he's been as a rookie. But there's a difference between guys who pitch well and guys who are stoppers, the true aces, the guys who, when you show up to the ballpark and you see them in the lineup card, you think, boys, we got no shot today. There are but a handful of those guys in the league. The Royals have one of them, and hopefully he can be a lot healthier in 2026. That'll do it for us today. We're back tomorrow from 3 until 6. Royals baseball starts at 8 tonight. For Spencer, I'm Dan. This was 580 Sports Talk. Good night.